Hey, Mama. Okay, so before I dive into all this deep content that is really going to make your head start thinking and making you open your eyes to the ways of the Lord and partnering with Him as this podcast is supposed to do, I wanted to first ease into it by telling you a little bit about me, about my journey, why I created the podcast, and what to expect in this podcast so that you know what's going on as we move forward. And to build a little bit of a connection, because who doesn't like connection? All right. So I'm super excited to jump into this episode, so let's dive in. Welcome to the Mama's Partnering with God podcast. I am your host, Molly Bunnell, mom, wife, and Jesus lover, and this is where we tackle life struggles with the help and guidance from God. In this podcast, you will find God-led solutions through partnering with God in your life. My mission is to equip you with the tools that will bring you closer to God, allowing you to find faith, hope, and peace so that you can tackle marriage, motherhood, and finances with ease. It can be so easy to let the world run your life, but what do you get from that? Pain, heartache, struggle? But with God as your solution and creating a God-led lifestyle, hope, joy, and peace are just knocking at your door. So, if you're ready to finally team up with God, doing things in His strength instead of your own, you better turn that Mickey Mouse on for your kids and plug in those headphones, Mama, so we can go partner with God. Okay, so before I dive too deep into today's topic, I want to let you know that my daughter is playing in the background. You know, the life of a mom, right? So if you hear lots of banging, that's what it is. Okay, so like I said, I'm super excited to talk about today's episode because it is my journey, it is my story, it is what I believe took to get me to this point, to be able to do this podcast and bring you this content that actually means something, and it's not just me jibber-jabbering away about something that isn't true to my heart, because this is something that I am very passionate about. And as I continue to learn more and more about God and partner with Him, it's so amazing to see everything that He has done in my life. So I'm going to give you a brief journey as to how I came to be at this point in life and how it has prepared me to create the content and the episodes that are actually going to help you and push you further in partnering with God. Okay, so here is, like I said, the fast version of my journey to where I am today. So my journey started out with getting pregnant. I had always said that I was not going to be a stay-at-home mom, that I would go crazy if I had to stay home all the time because I didn't know what I'd do. Well, that is so not the case, which I learned as soon as I got pregnant. So I tried to find ways in order to be able to stay home and bring in income. And the thing that I knew about, and I should say the only thing that I knew about, was starting a blog. So I looked into it. I bought a small little book that would teach me the basics of how to create a website so that I could start a blog. And yeah, I learned that is so not my thing. I love to write, but I am not a blogger because I don't know how to, create a website. I can write the content, but the rest of it is just not my thing, even though I am extremely tech savvy. that was one thing that just was over my head, and maybe it was the time or the season of my life. I'm not exactly sure. Maybe if I tried it again now, it'd be different. However, that is not a desire that God has put on my heart to pursue any further. So after doing that, I then had my daughter, and I had an extremely rough postpartum experience. Like, I had fallen away from God, and so I didn't have Him to lean on, and I just got so deep and down in the muck and into my brain, thinking that everybody was against me and that nobody liked me. And I know that that is so not true. I had so much support, but when you don't have your mindset in the right place, it just puts you in a place that it's hard to explain, but I'm sure you understand what I'm talking about, because it's not easy. And so because of my postpartum experience, and I had a desire to quit my job so that I could be a stay-at-home mom. Well, this desire grew and grew, and it turned into something that was much more than just a dream. It was a negative thing that was just feeding my postpartum already depression. I mean, it wasn't really depression, but it was darn close to it. And so this desire to quit was just feeding into that. And the only way I could see through it was through quitting my job, but I didn't have the money. Like, we couldn't afford it. And so eventually, by God's grace, He gave me a way out of my postpartum situation, a way out of my job, which I loved, by the way. I loved my job, but it was just too much. It was overwhelming. And once I figured that out and God gave me a way out, I completely changed. Like, my husband even saw a night and day difference with who I was and how I treated other people, and the fact that I actually wanted to go out and hang out with people rather than just say, no, I can't. I have to work. I have to do my job. I can't because I was also trying to build a business from home so that I could afford to quit my job. And that course I had bought was to become a VA, which, if you don't know, is a virtual assistant, which is pretty much like an online secretary. To make it short, I mean, there are lots of things to it, but that's just to make it short and sweet. And then it was like, oh my gosh, hello online world. Like, I figured out all these new things that I could be doing and who it was that I could become, and I could be bringing in all this money. Well, then all of a sudden my mind had become money hungry, and I was focused on bringing in money, not only so I could quit my job, but so I could support my family. Like, my mind just pretty much idolized money, and I'm still trying to fight through that right now, which I'll talk about a little bit later. But it was not a good time for me. And once I did actually quit my job, like, it took a little bit because the situation took a few months to actually make it so I could quit my job, so we did have enough money. I still was like not in a good place until I actually left my job. So then from there, I bought another Christ-centered coaching program to help me along in my business as a VA. And it actually didn't really help. But I also have to remember that I didn't join that course or that coaching program for the program itself. I joined it so that I could learn how to create relationships online and have connections, and to be surrounded by other women who we're talking about God all the time because I didn't have that in my life. And I needed that. So instead of going and looking for free stuff, I bought something. Did I learn a lot from the course? Yes, but not exactly what I thought I should, but I did get what I needed from it. But through that course, I grew in my relationship with God and in my faith. Like, I learned what it was like to partner with God, to become a daughter of the King and actually grow his kingdom. To me, that was like a foreign thing, and I had no idea what that was until this course, and it was just so mind-blowing, all the things that I didn't understand. Yet here I am, a daughter of the King who has been, I can't say in relationship, but has known of God and Jesus, and has believed darn near my entire life. Like, I went to Awanas, I wasn't baptized, but I came to know Jesus at Awanas, and I went to like Bible camp and all this kind of stuff, and I was praying all the time, reading the Bible, but until I actually built a connection with God and learned what it meant to have faith and be a daughter of the King, it wasn't really anything helpful. Like, it was good to have, but it didn't actually take me anywhere, if that makes sense. So as I started partnering with God through life, my world got changed, got flipped upside down, and in so many amazing ways. And it's been a journey as I have learned more about myself in this short amount of time compared to who I was before. And now I'm becoming an actual daughter of the King rather than just somebody who knows God. So then from there, God started to tell me that I had a message, which I knew back before when I was trying to build a business, that I had a message, that they were trying to teach me how to do marketing and messaging, and I just couldn't sit down and create this messaging. I was struggling because it's supposed to be about, and you're supposed to say it in words that aren't so blunt as I'm about to say, but it's pretty much buy me, buy me, buy me. And I struggled with that. I didn't want to just talk about the things that I was selling. Like, I had a message, an actual message to tell people about life, about motherhood. No, I wasn't focusing on God at the time, but I just couldn't get what they were trying to get me to get out. Like, my brain wouldn't wrap around it because it's not what I wanted to talk about. It's not the actual story, the lessons that I wanted to teach. And so I just stayed stagnant. I didn't do anything. As I started partnering with God, He also opened up my eyes to the message that I needed to share, and the fact that it wasn't just my, as we say in the business world, ideal clients that I needed to share this with. It needed to be to more people. It needed to be a larger audience, to all mamas, not just mamas in business, because that's who my business was targeting. And so the podcast was born. I am super excited about it too, because I actually know who it is that I need to speak to. I know what it is that I need to talk about. I have so much clarity that before I never had in my business. Yes, there are similarities into what I will be speaking about, but the fact that it is focused on God and partnering with Him and the amazing things that partnering with Him does just excites me, and I am super excited to continue to share this awesome journey with you. Okay, so that was, I was trying to make it a quick journey through my past and how I came to create this podcast. But the legit reason behind why I actually started this podcast and why it wasn't a blog or it wasn't a different variety of business, because I've went through many of those, which I don't need to get into that, but the actual thing was because as I built my relationship with God and it grew stronger, I kept hearing him tell me that I needed to reach out to more than just the women who may interact in my business. And I know I already said that, but he just kept telling me that. He kept saying that I had a message that needed to go out into the world and it was much more important than the means of marketing. And like I would hear it everywhere in the church sermons that I'd go to, in the podcasts I'd listen to. God was constantly telling me this. And the only answer that I could think of and the answer that he actually brought to me was to start a podcast. I mean, I always wanted to start one, but I didn't know what to talk about. And then this happened, and God just opened my eyes and my heart and my ears and everything to him so that he can use me as a tool to be a beacon of hope where hope was lost and forgotten. For those of you who need to be encouraged and lifted up, who need help partnering with him, as I did during my postpartum time that was so incredibly awful. And I am currently pregnant and about to pop, and I am so excited that my postpartum will not be the same, because this time I am with God and he is with me, and I will no longer be trying to do it in my own strength, but in his strength. And he will be the one guiding me and nurturing me and supporting me through this entire thing. Does that mean that I had no support last time? No, he was there, but I didn't welcome him in. I also had support through friends and family, but again, I didn't welcome them in. I was so fixated on me and what I wanted, and it was just such a selfish time. And when you're focused on selfish needs and selfish desires, you just go down quickly, as I'm sure you understand. I also, instead of going to God for answers, went to the internet. The internet. Let me try to speak a little clearer. And that's just the ways of the world. Like, instead of going to God and doing things in his strength, which are so much better than doing that in your own strength, I went to the world for my problems. The world only causes more problems. The world doesn't give answers and solutions. Like, you might be able to get some answers and solutions, but without God's help and doing things in his strength, it's just going to make your pain last longer rather than actually solving the problem and giving you the answers in which you actually need. And that's what I want this podcast to be, is a tool for you to use to grow closer with God, build that relationship, partner with him, so that when you are struggling, when you need help, when you don't know where to go, you don't turn to the internet. You don't turn to the world for help. You turn to him. You lean on him. You allow these God-led solutions to come from him instead of the world. And when you do that, your problem is kind of like a puzzle piece. I found that when I try to do things in my own strength, it was like forcing puzzle pieces together that don't fit. It didn't work. No matter what I did, it didn't work. But when I did things through God's strength and through his solutions, then everything flowed. I think that's the right way to say that. If not, correct me. But it just went together. Like, I was flowing into freedom And that was something that didn't happen very often because I always tried to do things in my own strength. Do I still try to do that? Yes. But this time I can actually catch it and I can stop it before it makes things worse. The other reason why I was really adamant about following God's direction in building this podcast was because the world, society's message is to keep our struggles to ourselves. Like in many songs out there, you can see it in the movies, like you are supposed to be strong. You're not supposed to cry. You're supposed to be this wonderful picture of perfectness that is nothing but it's not true. It's fake. It's false. And I don't want you to try to be someone you're not. I want you to be yourself. That's one thing that God has been teaching me, is to be myself and stop trying to let the world judge me based off of what they can physically see rather than what God sees inside of us. And so we need a place where we can go and feel safe and not feel judged. And that's what I wanted this to be. I wanted to show you my problems and my solutions with the help of God and show you the pain and the heartache and the struggle that life is, and to let you know it's okay. Does that mean it's going to be easy for me? No, I'm not someone who likes to open up a lot, but this is what God wants me to do. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to show you my struggles and then help you through yours the way God helped me through mine. Okay, so with that being said, I want to give you a little update on what to expect from this podcast. As you have already heard, this will be a very authentic podcast, meaning I'm not going to be doing a lot of editing. I'm going to let you hear my daughter in the background, the TV show in the background, the noise and everything that goes on, because I'm a mom. I have to record when I can, and sometimes my daughter sleeps, sometimes she doesn't, and sometimes she can be quiet, and then when I turn the microphone on, she has to be right here screaming into it. I'm like, dude, can you not do that when the microphone is not on? But I mean, she's only 2, right? And I'm about to have an infant, which has no logic because they don't understand. So yeah, you're going to hear lots of mom life in the background. Okay, what else to expect is I am going to be starting, and I should say sprinkling in, a series called Mama's Partnering with God, which is the name of this podcast, which it's the way it should be, because it's these episodes are going to be the foundation of the podcast. It's going to be the how to partner with God, the what it means to partner with God and all that kind of stuff. And then I will have a supporting series for those, explaining each of the foundational episodes. I mean, I'm not just going to give you straightforward facts in the Mama's Partnering with God series, but I am also not going to be going as deep into them, otherwise they'll be really long, and I don't want you to not be able to listen to it because it's too long. I'm going to try to keep it to like a 30-minute episode. So then I will have the supporting series. They're not going to be in order. I will let you know in the titles whether it is a foundation podcast or if it's a supporting podcast, and which foundational podcast it is supporting. So at least you'll know that. And then if you join the group, I will be putting them in different guides. I'm sorry, I laugh because until I got into the online world, I didn't even know what a group was. So the fact that I have a group is like, it makes me laugh. I'm like, dude, I didn't even know that, and I'm running one. I guess that's life, right? Okay, so then other than the Mamas Partnering with God series and then the supporting series, I will also be sprinkling in some life and financial struggles, wins, strategies, and just things that God puts on my heart that needs to be shared with you. If you have any questions, I would love to answer them. Like, you can put them in the Facebook group and I will create an episode about it if you'd like me to, or I can just answer it there for you, or maybe I'll do both. But yeah, I'm going into that now, so I should just say the Facebook group will also be called Mamas Partnering with God, where you can ask your questions, you can tell your stories, you can connect with other mamas going through the same struggles and get the support and connection that you crave. Because I know that's something that I needed. I needed a place where I could connect with other mamas that were trying to build a relationship with God. And that's why I bought that course, because I was like, oh my gosh, everyone in here is like talking about God, and I've not seen that before, and I would love to have that on my feed. So I bought the coaching program. Well, I want to create a group where you don't have to pay for it and you can come and connect and get that help that you need, the support and the connection that you crave. And it's going to be all about life, you guys. It's going to be everything that you question. It's going to be marriage. It's going to be motherhood. It's going to be home and life and finances. And there are so many things out there that we as moms would like support in. And that's what I desire this group, this podcast to be about. It's not just partnering with God, but also partnering with God together as a community, as a church, because we are the church. The church isn't a physical building. The church is the people in it, and it's just connecting and helping each other out. And that's what I desire this to be. And I just pray that God blesses it and blesses you. And I'm super excited to start this adventure with you. Oh, and I almost forgot. Make sure you come join the Mamas Partnering with God Facebook group so that you can get that connection. I mean, if you didn't get that from the point of the group or what it's supposed to be about, I hope that you understand that you can come join. It's free and you don't have to worry about anything but just showing up and asking questions and giving your own support along the way. Hey mama, before you head out, if this episode has blessed you in any way, would you please go and leave a written review over on Apple Podcasts so that it can reach, bless, and impact many other mamas the way it has you? I also want to personally invite you to come and join me and many other like-minded mamas over in my free Facebook group. I would love to hear your thoughts, answer your questions, and keep this conversation going. Praying God continues to bless you. See you next time.